Have you ever noticed that every few months a headline shows up that basically says, well folks, it's official. The thing you just started eating is now trying to kill you. One week it's eggs, another week it's coffee. Then red meat gets dragged back into court like it skipped probation. And now, high-fat diets are back on the witness stand because of cancer headlines. So today, I want to react to one of these scary headlines being used against high-fat diets. Because when people hear a phrase like, high-fat diets may promote cancer, many immediately think, well, there goes keto, there goes carnivore, there goes butter. I guess my ribeye has joined a gang. But hold on, before we throw avocado, eggs, steak, and salmon into nutritional jail, we need to slow this thing down and ask a few questions the headline usually hopes you won't ask. Because a headline is not a verdict, a study is not a soundbite, and biology, thank goodness, is more complicated than cable news. A recent breast cancer study out of Princeton and a liver cancer headline connected to MIT have both helped fuel this idea that high-fat diets may promote cancer under certain conditions. Those are real headlines, and that is exactly why this conversation matters. Now let me be very clear from the beginning. This is not a video saying cancer risk is fake. This is not a video saying nutrition doesn't matter. And this is definitely not a video saying eat everything with fat and everything will be fine. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is this: do not confuse a scary mechanistic headline with a clear clinical verdict on a properly formulated low-carb or ketogenic diet. Those are not the same thing. And if we're going to have an honest conversation, we have to separate at least 4 things that the media loves to mash together, like they're making a bad casserole. Number 1, dietary fat. Number 2, obesity. Number 3, insulin resistance and inflammation. And number 4, experimental cancer models. Those are not interchangeable. That distinction matters because excess body weight and poor metabolic health are clearly associated with increased cancer risk, including many obesity-related cancers. Major public health sources point to mechanisms like chronic inflammation, higher insulin, altered hormones, and growth signaling. That means the real issue is not simply did fat enter the room? The real issue is what kind of metabolic environment is being created? Is the person inflamed? Are they insulin resistant? Do they have excess visceral fat? Is blood sugar high? Is the liver overwhelmed? Is the body in a pro-growth, pro-inflammatory, metabolically unhealthy state? Those are the kinds of questions root cause medicine cares about. And that is why I want people to think more carefully when they hear the words high-fat diet. Because in a lot of research settings, high fat does not automatically mean a thoughtful, real-world diet built around whole foods, adequate protein, low sugar, low refined starch, improved insulin sensitivity, and reduced body fat. Sometimes high fat refers to an experimental diet designed to create disease. Sometimes it reflects chronic overnutrition. Sometimes it is part of a tumor model. Sometimes it has almost nothing to do with how your uncle lost 50 pounds and got off insulin eating eggs and hamburger patties. That is a very important distinction. So when I react to a headline like this, the first question I ask is, what exactly was studied? Was this done in humans? Was it done in mice? Was it done in cells? Was it done in a lab environment designed to isolate one pathway? Because if you skip that step, you can end up making broad dietary conclusions from a very narrow experimental setup. And that is where confusion starts. The recent Princeton associated work, for example, looked at aggressive breast cancer under controlled model conditions and reported that the fat-rich conditions promoted tumor growth and invasion in that setting. That is interesting. That is worth studying. But it is not the same as proving that a metabolically healthy human eating a well-formulated, low-carb diet is increasing cancer risk in the same way. Same thing with the liver headline. The MIT story focused on how chronic high-fat stress may increase susceptibility to liver cell cancer formation in its experimental context. Again, interesting, important, worth discussing, but not the same thing as saying every high-fat diet in every human is dangerous. That jump right there is where headlines often do Olympic-level gymnastics. And I get why. Because metabolic context modifies interpretation of mechanistic oncology findings is not exactly going viral on YouTube, but fat causes cancer gets attention. The problem is that attention and accuracy are not always dating. Sometimes they barely know each other. And this matters especially for people trying to improve metabolic health. Because what if a person moves from a standard American diet full of sugar, refined grains, ultra-processed foods, seed oils, liquid calories, constant snacking, and rising insulin to a lower carb diet that helps them lose visceral fat, reduce glucose excursions, lower triglycerides, improve satiety, and decrease inflammation? Would it make more sense to look at one scary headline and tell that person, actually, the butter is the main issue here? Not likely. In fact, for many people, the bigger cancer-promoting terrain may be the metabolic dysfunction they were living in before they changed their diet. That is the conversation I want us to have, because cancer does not grow in a vacuum. It grows in a biological environment. And if that environment includes hyperinsulinemia, chronic inflammation, excess adiposity, fatty liver, sleep disruption, poor food quality, and low metabolic flexibility, then we need to talk about that too. That is where the root cause lens becomes powerful. Instead of asking only how much fat is in the diet, ask what is happening to insulin? What is happening to waist circumference? What is happening to liver health? What is happening to inflammatory burden? What is happening to appetite regulation? What is happening to body composition? Because that is the terrain. That is the story behind the story. And honestly, I think a lot of people are tired of being scared by nutrition headlines that treat a macronutrient like a cartoon villain. Fat is not automatically the devil. Carbohydrates are not automatically angels. And protein did not apply to be a background actor in this movie. The body is more nuanced than that. Now, does this mean everybody should eat keto or carnivore? No, that is not my point. My point is that we should not take a mechanistic study, stretch it like an old rubber band, and use it to erase the clinical reality that many people improve dramatically when they reduce sugar and starch and adopt a more metabolically supportive way of eating. As a frontline physician, I care about what happens in real people. I care about whether their A1C improves, whether their fasting insulin comes down, whether their waist shrinks, whether their blood pressure improves, whether they get off medication, whether their fatty liver improves, whether they feel better, whether the terrain is getting healthier. That matters. And if a dietary pattern helps create a healthier metabolic terrain, we should not dismiss that because of one frightening headline. We should ask better questions. We should demand better translation. And we should remember that mechanism is not destiny. A mechanistic signal can generate a hypothesis, but it does not automatically settle a clinical debate. So what should viewers do when they see a headline like this? Simple. Pause. Do not panic. Do not let the headline do your thinking for you. Instead, ask what was studied. Ask who was studied. Ask whether the headline is talking about obesity, metabolic disease, or dietary fat, as if those are all the same thing, because they are not. And then remember this: if your way of eating is helping you reduce ultra-processed food, control insulin, improve body composition, stabilize blood sugar, and lower inflammation, that matters too. That does not mean you ignore new research. It means you interpret it wisely. And that is what I want more people to learn how to do. Not react like every new study is the final chapter of the nutrition Bible, because nutrition science is more plot twist than a daytime soap opera. One day eggs are evil, the next day they are superfood. At this point, some of these headlines need less confidence and more counseling. So here is my bottom line. These cancer headlines should not be ignored, but they also should not be overinterpreted. They raise important mechanistic questions. They do not justify simplistic fear-mongering against all high-fat dietary patterns. The real issue is not just fat. It is metabolic context. It is inflammation. It is insulin. It is obesity. It is food quality. It is the terrain in which disease develops. That is the deeper lesson. And that is why I wanted to make this reaction video. Because if all you do is read the headline, you may walk away scared at the wrong thing. And in medicine, being scared of the wrong thing can keep you from fixing the real problem. And if this kind of root cause breakdown helps you make sense of all the nutrition noise, make sure to like and subscribe. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. When you see a headline like this, what is the first question that comes to your mind? And if you want more videos that help you think clearly about cancer risk, metabolic health, low carb, keto, and carnivore through a practical doctor's lens, check the playlist and links in the description. Because the real goal is not just to react. The goal is to understand.